It's Sunday evening around 8 p.m. on the prairie. Mm-mm-mm. I need to do this before things get any worse here. The fatigue of the afternoon almost did me in. I had to leave my desk for a while. I went out and walked on the old road. Charlie goes with me on these walks, and Rose goes. Rose is a cat, a male cat. He's a young cat. He and Charles are around the same size, and they are of the same coloring, kind of, sort of. Anyway, they're good buddies. And Rose really likes to go on these walks. It's funny. So we walked down the old road, and I thought of all the things that the old road means to me. And then there was a break in the fence, kind of. Not a break, but a place where, kind of like you could call it a driveway. There's a culvert over the ditch. And some pink gravel kind of dumped on there. Anyway, that's where the tractors go in and out. And so I went into the field. The corn is as tall as my head. You still see pretty much through it, but it is as tall as my head. And then the other field right beside it is the beans. And I walked down the shoulder of the bean field for a ways to the old tree. Looked like a big limb got broken off during the night, and already the leaves were dry. Didn't take long. Poplar tree, old poplar tree. Or at least it smelled like a poplar tree. Actually, I think it's cottonwood. And I sat on the broken branch that was sprawled into the bean field. Kind of rested there for a little while. And they used to say that if you go out in the middle of a cornfield and you listen, you can hear things. And so I listened. Somebody asked me something about flat earth, and I want to say just a word about that. I'm not a flat earth researcher. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the background. And I'm not equipped for that kind of research. And that wasn't my job. My job was to provide support for the team of flat earth researchers who are eminently qualified. And that's what I did on the Flat Earth Truth Forum. That was one of my roles there. I did other things that were very important in the background. That I'm not going to elaborate too much on, but they were important. They were important then, and they are still important. And I still support that team of researchers. And of course, the other thing that was obvious to everyone that I did was I reported on my own beat on Max's thread. That was my beat. And that's what I did. 9 weeks ago, the Flat Earth Truth Forum was taken over in a coup of some sort. The details of that have not yet fully come forward. But just so you know, the team of researchers working on that forum have hung in there and persevered. It may look like a fracture occurred, but there is in the background an intactness. We're presently in a time of waiting. I'm not a patient person. I don't find waiting really to my liking. It is, however, something that we learn to do as the years pass. And that's partly what, one of the things. We learned a lot walking down the old road. We've been on that old road for quite a long time. And we've gone by a lot of things. We've had a lot of experiences. We've learned a lot. And we had to travel down that old road in order to get where we are today. And who knows where that old road will take us tomorrow. Okay, going on. I'm going to be changing screens around. I can't do that technically, so you all will continue to just see me, and I'm going to be looking at back screens and making comments. Okay. I will begin with my thread, I guess. My last post has a bit of a poem on there. Hardened in heart anew, but glad to have sat under thunder and rain with you, and grateful too for sunlight on the garden. This was a poem that was written in sometime in the 1930s. The period leading up to the Second World War was a study in contrast, a time of raucous celebration combined with a grim foreboding. As Al Stewart says, we were laughing into 1939. It is this sense of impending doom, of the imminent end of all good things, which appears most strongly in the poetry of Louis MacNeice during that period. I had never run across Louis MacNeice before. All right, going on. As you all know by now, there has been another terrorist episode taking place, this time in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Officers down, cops shot in Baton Rouge. A man dressed in black with his face covered has shot and killed 3 police officers in Baton Rouge. At least 2 officers killed, possibly 7 overall reported casualties. The attack comes 2 days after the funeral of Alton Sterling, a black man killed by police during an arrest. We knew that was coming. We didn't know where or when, but of course we knew it was coming. going on. The Oath Keepers stepped into this particular fray. Stuart Rhodes has put up a post on Oath Keepers, which went out to his membership. 3 police dead, 3 more wounded in Baton Rouge ambush. Oath Keepers offers to protect police families. The article goes on. The officers were shot early Sunday, and as of 9:30 a.m., a manhunt was on for the suspect or suspects. Baton Rouge Mayor Holden is asking for prayers for the officers and their families. On and on. Breitbart is reporting. Pretty typical stuff. We've heard this a lot now. I'm not going to read every word of it. There is a very active Reddit thread you should also monitor, with many Baton Rouge locals posting. Locals posting on Reddit say that outside groups are the ones who are most militant and trying to stir up and radicalize the locals. We saw this in Ferguson and Baltimore too. Baton Rouge local Redditor, somebody or other, says, born and raised in Baton Rouge. I was in town during the shooting. Immediately after the shooting, there were calm and peaceful protests. Local Black community leaders were on the news regularly talking about the need to stay calm, that cops aren't a target, that Black lives need to matter to Blacks too. Look at the murder statistics for Baton Rouge, usually 2 or 3 murders a week, typically Black on Black. No protests for these people. I remember turning into the national news a few days later and hearing talking heads almost complaining about the lack of violent protest. That's where, when the out-of-town groups came in, that's when I stopped seeing the local community leaders on TV. Unquote. One group pointed shotguns at the police. Another group drove around wearing masks and holding posters that said, "The purge is happening now." More people came in from out of town. The protests started getting more tense. The police started aggressively arresting people. They brought out the military vehicles and riot guns. The family of Sterling asked for peaceful protests on the news. They warned that outsiders were riling up the community. Now we're here. Now cops are being killed. What a tragedy. At least the pundits are happy now. Another Baton Rouge local says, "You're absolutely right that outsiders have been coming in. My spouse and I live in Baton Rouge, and my spouse is actually in the media. I remember last week when the protests moved from the store where Alton Sterling was killed to police headquarters, all the local leaders were taken aback. My husband called the people who were leading the original protest to see what was up, and they had no idea. The guy said, 'I don't know what's going on. We weren't protesting tonight. We have the night off. I don't know what they're doing right now, but I'm going over there now to try and straighten it out.' This community was peaceful, angry, but peaceful. And outside people weren't satisfied with that and came in to change it. And I can't really speak to the national media, but local media is sick of this shit. They don't like stories like this. These are people they know and interact with. This is their home, and it's in chaos. They don't enjoy this, especially because everyone is pissed at them. They're trying to stay neutral, but as most people know, when you're really neutral, both sides hate your guts. The Black community and their supporters think the media is taking the cops' sides, and the cops and their supporters think the media is taking the Black community's side. There's no winning and they're exhausted. At least we are. We were finally getting some time to recoup this weekend. Got through 2 episodes of Stranger Things this morning before the phone started blowing up. Again, this is exactly what we saw in Ferguson, Missouri, too. Outside agitators came in and looted, burned, and shot at the police, leaving the locals holding the bag. Natalie, of Natalie's Cakes and More, told us these people are not locals, which explains why they had no problem trashing her bakery and then trying to burn it down later. Louisiana Oath Keepers' response and call to action. I'm in direct communication with Oath Keepers in Baton Rouge and our Louisiana chapter leadership, that's Duncan Simmons, is a retired police officer. At a minimum, our LA chapter, Louisiana chapter, will be offering our assistance in protecting officers' families while the officers are on duty under our existing Family Safe program and as part of our new Operation Backstop, so the officers can focus on doing their job with less fear for their families. We will offer this protection for police families, not just in Baton Rouge, but all over Louisiana, because the threat is all over the state, and we will coordinate with each local police department on what else we can do to help. Skipping down, we have credible information that new Black Panther Party extremists in Louisiana intend to hold armed protest in small towns with small police departments where they will outnumber the local police. Don't think that trouble can't come to your sleepy little town. Whether it is racist, Marxist, wannabe cop killers, or jihadists, bad guys may target your little town specifically because you have few cops and are all warm and sleepy thinking you are safe. The interstate is right there. We will post more updates as information comes in. For the Republic, Stewart Rhodes. Going on. The other thing I must reluctantly talk about is this incredibly stupid Pokemon thing. I said this morning I had never even, I don't follow the popular stuff. This had not crossed my view until, I guess, sometime during the night or this morning. So I have never addressed it in any way. Some of my advisors behind the scenes who helped me with all of this did provide me with some clues and more information. And I know we have to look at this. I don't want to, but we have to look at this. One of my advisors, who is in Australia, I believe Australia, forwarded this to me, and I'm going to cover it. Pokemon, a cult agenda, New World Order brainwashing game. I will be putting this up on my blog. Agenda to brainwash all ages. Let's investigate the sensation also known as Pokemon. If you are just like me in that case, you are not quite sure what this is. I researched numerous posts online prior to arriving to my conclusion that Pokemon is basically yet another instrument of the Illuminati and the occult. There's videos, and I will post all of this on my blog. Pokemon is translated as pocket monsters. In addition, it was unveiled to us in the mid-1990s. Yeah, I kind of remember vaguely something about that. Pokemon still remains trendy. The launch of the Pokemon Go app increased its reputation to astounding heights as users seek out these monsters with their smartphones. The news media outlets mongered us into thinking it will, without a doubt, result in getting robbed or run over by a car, as these things have in fact occurred to a few players. Notice the all-seeing eye on the O of the Go. Okay, yes, I see that. The Pokemon figures are essentially a collection of monsters in which participants will use to fight an opponent. The catalog of monsters deciphers like the list of 72 demons from the Goetia, all of them having a variety of mystical powers and abilities that the participant can enhance in order to develop into a more powerful competitor. All right, so this is some kind of online game, among other things. The entire objective is to train your Pokemon to come to be more robust in their skills and evolve into far more powerful monsters. One illustration is Haunter, a ghost having the capability to levitate and haunt others. Its evolved shape is Gengar, which in turn has more attributes that an individual will find with an actual ghost. Pictures of these things. What is curious about those handful of ghost Pokemon is the fact that they happen to be the color purple. The color symbolizes the mauve zone. The mauve zone, the mauve something region, is where you can discover the hidden demons of Glipoth in the shadow realm on the dark side of the Kabbalah tree of life. Can't even believe I'm reading this. This zone is identified in Kenneth Grant's Beyond the Mauve Zone in words of communicating with other mundane entities with supernatural powers. Access to the Mauve Zone has been facilitated in more recent times by the use of magical systems developed by occultists such as Austin Osman Spare and Aleister Crowley, both of whom established contact with interdimensional entities possessed of transhuman knowledge and power. Both systems involve the use of sexual magic to open hidden gates that have remained sealed for centuries. Without a doubt, upon additional assessment of the other temporal Pokemon recognized as Gengar, we discover it to be referred to as one of the shadow Pokemon. The other questionable characters of Pokemon are the creatures referred to as Abba, Kadabra, and Alakazam. The evangelical Christians exulted a fuss regarding these characters, And even though I ordinarily try to maintain a level mind and steer clear of siding with over paranoia, I have to point out that they might be accurate. Hear me out. The characters were meant to be presented as hocus and pocus. Nonetheless, they had been transformed to abracadabra and alakazam in recognition of the spell incantation per Wikipedia. More pictures. Those of you who read Sacrifice, Magic Behind the Mic definitely understand that abracadabra is a component of the occult belief of framing the universe to the practitioner's self-will, fulfilling the wants of Aleister Crowley, Paulo Coelho, and The Secret. The Secret. I remember that from, I don't know, 2005. And there were Christian denominations using The Secret and that was in some of the, not the mainstream Christian, but charismatic, I guess. One of my sons was involved with a so-called Black Christian woman, and that was affiliated in that way. Okay, going on. Now, supplying the relevance of wordplay in the rap genre, it should not be a whole lot of an expansion of the creativeness to ponder that musicians are utilizing actual magic to produce their art. Musicians? Do they mean magicians and that's a typo, or are they talking about musicians? Relevance of wordplay in the rap genre. Going on. Heck, art in and of itself is actually magic simply because you are making a specific thing out of nothing. The term abracadabra includes Aramaic roots and virtually means, as I speak, I create. The fascinating origin of the word abracadabra. Okay, that's a video, skipping past that. It is a magical belief technique that projects an illusion and helps make the viewer believe it, which in turn will make it a reality. It is no diverse than the concept of the media or entertainment industry reproducing a false theme to followers until eventually it turns into an accepted reality. We observe pharmaceutical companies forcing advertising and marketing of new conditions until we believe it impacts us. Okay. In regards to that, they're creating something out of nothing, hocus pocus. Another video entitled, Proof Pokemon Go is Massive Mind Control, dated 2016. Hocus pocus is an expression utilized by witches and magicians as well, with roots of good remarks to the Gnostic deity known as Abraxas. As per Tex Mars Codex Magica, and early physicians made use often to utilize it for healing powers. That is of none whatsoever shocking. Since the commencing of the Hippocratic Oath started out with talk of something to Apollo and other pagan deities. Therefore, we discovered that Pokemon uses the same process here with these three limited characters. They have the anticipated supernatural abilities such as ESP, teleportation, and other psychic abilities. In fact, it is now known that magician Uri Geller sued Nintendo over all these characters due to the fact he presumed them being modeled after him with his to bend spoons with the mind. While looking at the specific characters, we are able to observe symbols that indicate they, without a doubt, are occult in origin. Another video. The outlines on Kadabra's chest show to look similar to the lightning bolts of the Nazi Party's SS that will link us into the lightning symbolism of Lucifer, the fallen angel. This is not the first time we have noticed entertainment targeted toward children that utilizes magic and lightning bolt symbolisms. Yet another description with regard to these lines is that they are in fact waves obtained from the Zener cards. Zener cards are used to test an individual's mental powers. The Zener cards are components of the spiritualism activity sought to bring together specific principles with religion via parapsychology, and several figures who have delved into occult concepts have played a part in this movement, like Carl Jung. In the beginning series of Ghostbusters, we see Bill Murray's character evaluating psychic abilities with utilizing of Zener cards. Even considerably more precisely, the wave cards that we see on Kadabra. The red star is likewise an occult symbol. When we contemplate that the communist movement is linked into occult desires, for example, the deterioration of religion and the escalating influence of government, New World Order. The red star symbolizes communism. Nonetheless, it can adequately be the symbol of Lucifer, the blazing star and recipient of faithfulness from occult groups. Remember how the extremely occult-connected Charles Manson and family murders took out Sharon Tate, to whom was infamously identified with her racy photo shoot where she wore the red star of Lucifer. Please note that she ended up being tragically murdered following the release of Rosemary's Baby, a film regarding a satanic cult that desired to create Crowley's Moonchild demon by means of sex magic rituals. Including Tate was initially meant to play the role of the mother of the demon spawn. It presents itself as the objective of the Pokemon phenomenon, especially Pokemon Go, is to generate contact with all these monsters. Those entities will then be utilized for their powers, and they have a common commitment with the player/magician. In reality, the lyrics to the Pokemon song service this type of idea. Pokemon, gotta catch them all. A heart so true, our courage will pull us through. You teach me, and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. This commitment among the monster and the enthusiast is no diverse than what we have observed from ceremonial magicians. I would say that is true. For instance, Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons, who tried to contact a variety of spirits and entities to be able to learn from them. As a matter of fact, all of Crowley's Thelema religion is based from his communication with the spirit known as Aiwass. Another video. Teach me and I'll teach you is indeed the axiom of any good occultist magician. Comparable to various other superhero tales, we are being spoon-fed the idea of evolution plays a vital role in Pokemon. The entire game is developed upon first generating contact with these monsters, and second, capturing them. That will be executed by the magicians as they trap the entity in a magic triangle. Just after they trap them, the players have to train the demons and make them evolve directly into the next more significant powered character. The lyrics to the Pokemon theme song additionally assist this kind of thinking. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide, each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Yeah, that's a demonic tract. Thinking one of the major aspects of occultism in the early 2000s, as we are inundated with a variety of ideas and themes of evolution in our amusement, we are being brainwashed to allow the idea that mankind can evolve into beings with supernatural powers. There's a picture. In conclusion, we are being brainwashed to believe in the further evolved alien theory, in a way that when these demonic entities appear, we will learn from them. Some even lay claim that the alien idea is internally foretasted by mankind simply because we desperately want a guiding force to tell us what to do. Our entertainment is supplying that for us in the expectations that we will someday summons these demonic entities. We are also getting brainwashed to simultaneously distance ourselves from traditional religious beliefs in what presents itself to be a synchronized attempt of the occult to convey the Crowley Aeon of Horus and the new age of mankind that searches to evolve humans through transhumanism. I am certainly not a type of person to try and knock what others consider as entertainment. If Pokemon is an item that gives you pleasure in life, please proceed to allow it to do so. Nonetheless, be mindful that the concepts inherent in the procedures of evolution and communicating with supernatural entities and seeking to be some kind of trained wizard perhaps can steer you straight down the path of the occult. They have positioned traps everywhere you go that will entice the unsuspicious into substantially darker territories. I ask you to merely think about the symbols, strategies, and beliefs being applied by the Illuminati and their power. Please leave a comment. We would like to know what you think. I don't know the individual who posted this on Bin, but I do thank my advisor in the background who pointed me at it. This is certainly more than I ever would have wanted to know about Pokemon. However, I think it's only one aspect. Another advisor pointed out Um, you, let me see now if I get this right. There is an app for that. People get this stuff on their cell phone, and somehow they are being instructed to go to random and sundry and various and strange locations with their cell phone, looking for these demons or looking for something, and take pictures with their cell phone. Then they send these cell phone pictures to wherever. And in return, then they get a text message or something back on their cell phone that gives them another playing piece or another advancement to their game piece or something. And my advisor from Canada, who tried to fill me in on what the hell is going on here, pointed out that there are many places where the Google Earth photography car cannot go. And they are using this as a way to get people to go into these, alleys and backyards and places and take these photos for Google Earth. Then I happened to go to True News, and I happened to, by this time I was fatigued and it was afternoon and I was working at my sewing machine, and I like to have something playing in the background that I can learn something from while I'm doing this handwork with my hands. And so I was listening to a True News broadcast. This is a Christian-oriented ministry kind of a thing, but I'm telling you, True News is up on the news. They really get the news. I'll say some more about that in a minute, if I can remember it. Anyway, the subject came up in conversation about this Pokemon thing. And the churches are very concerned about it because they are being attacked by the Poke monsters. People looking for these. They're photographing all sides of the Christian church buildings, the alleys behind the churches, the parking lots, the bushes. They are following the congregation home to see where the Christians live. They're following the ministers home. And yes, the Christian people are very, very concerned about the fact they're. And what it made me think of was back a few years ago, there was a lot of talk about the red list and the blue list. I think it was the red list that were the agitators for the patriots, or anyway, when Homeland Security was going to come and get you, you were on a red list. And there was a lot of talk in the rural communities in particular about how people's mailboxes, rural mailboxes, were marked in an inconspicuous place underneath or behind for targeting purposes. The mailboxes would be marked with red or some kind of insignia or something in an inconspicuous place where you wouldn't notice it. You'd go out to get your mail out of your rural mailbox unless you just wouldn't notice it. But it was being said that Department of Homeland Security had marked the homes where there were known to be guns or patriots or some undesirable that they might want to take out. I don't know if they are still doing that. Oh yeah, and along with marking the mailboxes, there were also various things coded onto road signs. Coded onto road signs, and I'm sorry I don't remember the details of that. But anytime there was a road sign inappropriately placed somewhere out in the boonies, there would be insignia on it. I'm seeing the concern of the church, of the Christian community with regard to this Pokemon thing as related in part to that. I saw another piece about this Pokemon thing, and I will try to recapture that, and I will put that back up too on the blog. I don't know what we can do with this kind of information other than be informed and know about it. And I think a lot of the younger people probably are buying very heavily into this. It kind of also even fits in with the goth fad that was going on 2 or 3 years ago. Back around 2012, there was this goth fad. And I know my teenage next door neighbors were so fascinated by vampire stuff. They would come over and ask me, what did I know about vampires? And they asked me all kinds of questions. And I was very careful how I answered those questions. And I could not for the life of me get those kids to be interested in things that would be more conducive to their well-being. All right. What else do I need to say here before I sign off on this craziness? Again, we are looking at a divided world, a contest between forces of good and forces that clearly are of evil. Clearly are of evil. And to say a little bit more, about the, there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that whatever happened in Baton Rouge was uh, intentional false flag thing of some sort. At the siege of Vienna in 1683, Islam seemed poised to overrun Christian Europe. We are in a new phase of a very old war. Yes, we are. And the Islamic Jihad thingy is a big part of it. Matt Bracken is a name, a voice known from the American Patriot movement, and he's been posted at gates of Vienna. And there's a picture that he's put up. Mohammed Bohel, that I don't know, that's a name, heeds the call to jihad. He was an ordinary, non-observant Muslim until he heeded the call to holy jihad of the Islamic State. A collection of photographs of this very ordinary, nice-looking young man that you wouldn't think too much of if you passed him in the aisle of the supermarket. And a picture of the vehicle. The truck that was shot up in France. By the way, Jim Stone has done a big article saying there were no bullet holes. I don't know about that. Okay, going on. Matt Bracken says, all Muslims with observant parents are brought up with the threat of hellfire if they are bad Muslims. So even non-observant bad Muslims are extremely dangerous because they can quickly be brought back under mind control. Unlike other religions, in Islam, violent bloody jihad, that is, the murder of non-Muslims, vaults the former bad Muslim head of the line and straight to the 72 virgins. Leapfrogs him right over the top of the other guys, straight to the 72 virgins. This was also famously the case with the Egyptian heir bad Muslim, who took the controls of a jet that he was merely a passenger on under a pretext and crash-dived it into the Atlantic Ocean, screaming, Allah Akbar. So pay no heed to Islam apologists who say that this guy was not a true Muslim. He was the truest of all Muslims when it counted, when he was committing mass murder in the name of Allah. All right, that I think I better stop talking at this point. A little after 9 p.m. Sunday, July 17th. We just totally got unjulied. I think there has never been a year like this. All right, finding my way back. I'll put this stuff up on the outside blog and I will talk to you in the morning. And remember, you are loved. And in the end, love wins.